Hi, this is Paul from finishyoursong.com. In this video I want to draw together some things that we've looked at in previous videos with a practical example of how you can use them all to achieve an end result. So this particular song is One More Time, which, as those of you who watch these videos regularly might suspect, is a song that's off the album that I'm working on at the moment. It's a ballad, and for the verses I wanted a Spanish guitar. Now that presented me with two problems. One is that I don't possess a nylon strung guitar, and secondly, the part I wanted required fingerpicking. Now, although I'm a guitarist, that kind of folk style, Spanish style fingerpicking has never been my forte. So I decided that rather than trying to record a guitar playing that finger style when I didn't have the right sort of guitar anyway, was a bit of a non-starter. So what I decided to do was to fake it, and that's what I want to look at here. To do this, I used a combination of techniques. I used the chord track, I used the logical editor, and I used groove quantizing, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in on a particular section here, the verse, and as you can see we start out with an E minor. Now what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the A minor section, and I'm going to show you how I actually constructed the chords. Then we're going to have a quick look at the verse, and then I'll play it and you can see how it sounds. So what I did first was I went into the chord track and I selected here guitar voicings with triads and 4-note chords. In the chord track you've got a choice of piano, simple or guitar, and then once you've made your decision as to what sort of voicing you want, you can say how far you want to go. Well, I wanted something classic. I wanted something that resembled a normal chord, and so we'll just pull this down as we've done before, and we'll pull it onto this chord demo track just to have a quick look. In fact, we only need one of them. Now if you think about a chord of A minor on a guitar, conventionally you fret 3 of the strings, but it actually gives you 5 of the strings. Now if you're used to the notation for fingerstyle, what you basically end up with is your index, middle and ring finger, or the annular finger as it's referred to, the IMA. These 3 fingers pluck the top 3 strings, the G, B and E strings, and your thumb, or pulgar, hence the P, plays the bass notes. Now the pattern I wanted to use as far as possible with these chords an alternating bass note. So I would normally play as the root note the actual root note of the chord, whether that was on the E or the A string, and I would use whatever note was being played on the D string as the alternate bass. So in the case of this A minor chord, what we would have would be the A as the bass and the E as the alternate bass note. You would have the A, C and E as the plucked notes higher up. So with all that in mind, let's have a look, see what notes we've got here. We've got an A, we've got an E, and then our A, C, E. So we're off to a good start. With the chord track you do have to watch the notes that it gives you, because sometimes it gives you the wrong notes, particularly if you're playing a G chord. The G notes can be all over the place. Now the issue we've got here is that they're all lined up on the first note of the bar. So you would conventionally play A, and then you would go to, yes, we want to enlarge the part. So because we're going to come back to this thought in a minute. So A, now in the pattern I'm going to play, the next one is the altered bass note. Yeah, don't ask again. It's getting tight. Right. So now we have all the notes where they start, and we've got notes no I've turned off the I've turned off the click, the snap. That was something else I was doing. Right, so just adjust these so that they snap to the bar. Right, what we can now do is go in and put in the missing notes. And the pattern we're going to play is that. So that what I'm then going to do is I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap between the notes where they recur. So we've now got our A minor chord, and that pattern plays in that way. In fact, what we'll do is we'll just load up an instance of something quick. I'll just solo that so you can hear what we've got so far. Okay, so we've now got our chord playing like that. But if I copy that and then highlight both of them, I can now see the two sets of notes. And I can see where the notes in the first bar overrun the notes in the second bar. So I can simply pull these back, because in reality, if I was playing two notes, I would let the strings sound out. So what I would then have would be this. Now, that's fine, but there's a couple of issues with that. One is that all the notes are at the same volume, and the second is that they are remorselessly on the grid. How do we get around that? Well, the first thing to do is to introduce some dynamic variation, and we do this with the logical editor. If I just highlight the track, and you would do this at the end after you'd put all of your chords in, you can go into MIDI, logical presets. We've looked at this before. Highlight that. Logical editor, and you can load up a preset for altering it's in the standard set there, random velocity. So you would just simply put in that you wanted, say, 60 to 75 as your velocities and apply. And then you come back to this, and our velocities at the bottom are randomized. So now if we solo it and have a listen, you can hear how it sounds. The other thing to do is to line it up with the performance. And what I did was as I've shown you before, in the parts of the song where I had the acoustic guitar, I actually created a duplicate track, copied this, which is the piano part, which I was using as my quantized grid, created one part that was the same length as I'd programmed, and simply copied the groove onto the quantize panel and applied the quantize groove from that combined part onto the verse. The only thing with doing that, and I'll open this verse up to have a look, is you do have to be careful. As you can see, some of these notes are off the grid, and that's what you want. But what you don't want is for them to be too far off the grid, so you do have to go through afterwards and pull them back just to be sure that you're not getting notes that sound a little too far out of time for comfort. I think I covered that in the previous video as well. So, having said all that, I can mute that out, and I'll play you a little bit of the Spanish guitar, and then I'll play it in context so you can hear what the end result is like. So that's what it sounds like soloed. It's a quite passable emulation of a Spanish guitar. One thing that I did do with this particular instrument, I was using the Contact 5 instrument from the factory library, the nylon guitar, and what I did decide was that the overall velocities, once I'd done the 60 to 75, were too quiet. So I used the MIDI modifier here to add a value of 27 to all of the notes. So I moved my range up in volume to get the end result that I wanted. And that's how I faked a nylon guitar. And I'll leave you with the song, and you can have a listen to how the guitar sits in the context of the first verse. And before I do that, I will simply say I hope this has been helpful, and you take care of yourselves.